سلام بچه ها، به کانال من خوش آمدین. اسم من مریم هست و من معلم زبان فارسی هستم. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariam and I'm a Persian language instructor. We have another lesson here, review of the present and future tense. This is just a quick review on how to form present and future tenses in Farsi. And now let's just start the lesson. In this lesson, we are going to only cover how to form all the present and future tenses in Farsi. We are not going into the details, nuances, exceptions. If you want to learn about those, then it's better to watch the lesson for each tense separately. You can find the links in the description box. And then also at the end of the lesson, there's a section which I provided a comparison between all the present and future tenses in Farsi and their English counterparts. So in Farsi, there's just for present and future tense, we just have 3 tenses. I think in English there are 8 tenses, like 4 tenses for present tense and 4 tenses for future tense. But in Farsi, it's just these 3 tenses here. And we have said that the present tense is also used for present continuous and future tense. Present continuous tense is only used in the spoken language, and future tense is used in the formal language. So we are going to start by reviewing the present tense. زمان حال. Forming present tense. ساخت زمان حال. زمان حال, it means present tense. So we have 2 verbs here as examples. Let's start with the first one. The first one, پرسیدن. پرسیدن means to ask, but not like to ask a request, to ask a question. So the first thing we need the prefix me. The prefix me, it doesn't mean anything. It is just used here to make present tense. So me is here, and then we need the present stem of the verb. There is no formula for the present stems. You just need to memorize them. So پرسیدن, the present stem is pors. So it comes here, pors. And then we need the verb ending. So let's say the subject is man. This is the ending for man. Then it comes here. And now let's combine them. می پرسم. می پرسم. Either means I ask, or I will ask, or I am asking. Let's go over to the next verb. زندگی کردن. زندگی کردن means to live. So we need me here, and then the present stem of کردن, the verbal part, which is کن. So کن comes here, and then let's say the subject is شما. This is the conjugation for شما. می کنید. Now let's combine everything. زندگی می کنید. Remember, me comes before the verbal part, not before the non-verbal part. We do not say می زندگی کنید. No. زندگی می کنید. Either means you live, you will live, or you are living. One thing that you need to know is that we can also attach the me to the verb. So you might see also like می پرسم like this. می پرسم, me is attached. Or like می کنید. You might also see it like this. It doesn't matter. There's like no rule for which should it be separated, should it be attached. Either one works. Let's also quickly review the negative form of the present tense. So for the negative, we need to add ne to me. So for example here, me changes to nemi. So می پرسم changes to nemi پرسم, which the meaning changes to I don't ask, I will not ask, or I am not asking. Or the same with the second one. So می changes to nemi. So زندگی می کنید changes to زندگی نمی کنید. You don't live, you will not live, or you are not living. Now let's just fully conjugate these 2 verbs that we just formed, so you can also get some practice in conjugation. So here the first one, before that, here are all the personal pronouns. So I'm just going to read through the verbs. می پرسم, می پرسی, می پرسد, نمی پرسیم, نمی پرسید, نمی پرسند. And also in the spoken language, third person singular here, می پرسد, changes to می پرسه. می پرسه. او می پرسه. So dal changes to silent he. For a second person plural or second person singular polite, نمی پرسید changes to نمی پرسین. So here dal changes to nun. پرسید, پرسین. For this one, آنها نمی پرسند. So نمی پرسند changes to نمی پرسن. So we remove dal. نمی پرسند, نمی پرسن. Let's go to the left side. زندگی می کنم, زندگی می کنی, زندگی می کند. زندگی نمی کنیم, زندگی نمی کنید, زندگی نمی کنند. Now let's go over the informal, which is the same thing. So می کند. So کند part here changes to کنه. So زندگی می کنه. او زندگی می کنه. Next one, زندگی نمی کنید changes to کنید part changes to کنین. So زندگی نمی کنین. So we remove, sorry, we don't remove it. دال changes to nun. This one, زندگی نمی کنند changes to کنن. زندگی نمی کنن. So we remove دال. And this rule here for the informal applies to all verbs. Let's go over 3 examples. I always work out with my boyfriend. To work out is ورزش کردن. کن is the present stem. من همیشه با دوست پسرم ورزش می کنم. One more time. من همیشه با دوست پسرم ورزش می کنم. So here there is no اضافه between دوست and پسرم. We do not say دوست پسرم for boyfriend. Boyfriend is دوست پسرم. If you add an اضافه here, it means you're referring to a friend who is a male. So here ورزش می کنم is the verb, می is the prefix, کن is the present stem, می is the verb ending which is conjugated to man. And man is also optional. Alright, next example. They will not watch a movie tomorrow. So this is a future tense, but we use present tense for it. So نگاه کردن is to watch. We also have تماشا کردن too. Maybe you might have heard of تماشا کردن. فردا آنها فیلم نگاه نمی کنند. So here the verb is now negative. نمی کنند. One more time. فردا آنها فیلم نگاه نمی کنند. Or تماشا نمی کنند. So here is the verb and the nun needs to be, the ne for negative needs to be attached to the prefix می. And then آنها also is optional. Next one, my daughter studies every weekend. So to study is درس خواندن. خان is the present stem. And you see U and an aleph, just know that U is silent here. So خا, خواندن and خان. درس means a lesson. خواندن means to read. So to read a lesson it means to study. هر هفته دخترم درس میخواند. We can also start the sentence with دخترم and say دخترم هر هفته درس میخواند. زمان حال استمراری. So we covered the present tense, we covered we will cover the future tense. Now we are going to cover present continuous tense, زمان حال استمراری. Just a quick reminder that this tense, it is only used in the spoken everyday language. This tense is not used in like the written language or like in books, textbooks, news, articles. You won't see this. It is only used in the spoken language, but it is very commonly used in the spoken language. So I recommend you to still learn it. Because if you don't want to use it, that's fine, but at least it's good to learn it. So when you hear it, you will be able to understand it. Forming present continuous. We have two verbs here. Let's start with the first one. So دیدن, it means to see. So to form present continuous, first we need the auxiliary verb dar, which comes from the verb داشتن. It's the present stem of the verb داشتن, but here it is only used as an auxiliary verb. So we need to add the verb ending to the auxiliary verb. Let's say the subject is man, dar, mim, daram. So this will be the auxiliary verb, and then we need the present tense. So the present tense of دیدن, we need the present stem. So mi, bin, and then the verb ending. Again, the subject is man, so this is the ending for man, mi binam. So let's combine them. دارم میبینم. It means I am seeing. For the next one, برگشتن. It means to return. برگشتن is a compound verb. It is not a simple verb. So again, first we need the auxiliary verb. So we need دار, and let's say this time the subject is شما. So this is the ending for شما, دارید. And then گشت, the present stem is گرد. بر می گردید. Let's combine them. دارید برمیگردید. You are returning. Now let's go over the negative form of present continuous. So for the negative, we need to get rid of the auxiliary verb. So we do not need the dar part. And then for the second part, mi changes to nemi. So میبینم here changes to نمیبینم. So دارم میبینم, we get rid of دارم, and می changes to نمی. So نمیبینم, it means I am not seeing. And the same with the second verb, برمیگردید, می changes to نمی. So دارید برمیگردید, we get rid of دارید, and then می changes to نمی. So بر نمیگردید, you are not returning. Let's go over the full conjugations for these two verbs. The first three are positive, and then the second three are negative. So you can also see the negative version too. دارم میبینم. داری میبینی. دارد میبیند. And then for the negative, we said we do not need the auxiliary verb. نمیبینیم. نمیبینید. نمیبینند. So now let's go over the informal. Even though this form of present continuous is used in the spoken language, it's already informal, but you know, there's also like a more informal form of it. So دارد changes to داره. میبیند changes to میبینه. داره میبینه. نمیبینید changes to نمیبینین. So دال changes to نون. نمیبینین, we remove دال. It's going to leave us with نمیبینین. Let's go over to the left side. دارم برمیگردم. داری برمیگردی. دارد برمیگردد. بر نمیگردیم. بر نمیگردید. بر نمیگردند. Let's see the more informal version. So دارد changes to داره. برمیگردد changes to برمیگرده. So داره برمیگرده. And then بر نمیگردید here. So گردید changes to گردین. So بر نمیگردین. And بر نمیگردند. گردند changes to گردن. بر نمیگردن. Let's go over these three examples so we can get some practice here. The first one, she is writing her grandmother a letter. So to write is نوشتن. نویس is the present stem. But remember, in Farsi, we write for someone because نوشتن is a prepositional verb. So it's like literally saying she for her grandmother a letter is writing. برای کسی نوشتن. کسی is someone, which in this case is her grandmother. او دارد برای مادر بزرگش نامه می نویسد. So دارد is the auxiliary verb that needs to come after the subject, and then می نویسد needs to come at the end of the sentence. In English, both the auxiliary verb and the verb are right next to each other. But in Farsi, we first bring دارد after the subject and then the verb at the end. Now the informal of دارد is داره. می نویسد, the informal is می نویسه. So this language, a little bit more informal, is او داره برای مادر بزرگش نامه می نویسه. Next one, we are making dinner for the guests. So to make is درست کردن and کن is the present stem. ما داریم برای مهمانها شام درست می کنیم. One more time. ما داریم برای مهمانها شام درست می کنیم. So I think this one is pretty clear. Next one, the kids are cleaning their rooms. So to clean is تمیز کردن. کن is the present stem of کردن. بچه ها دارند اتاقشان را تمیز می کنند. One more time. بچه ها دارند اتاقشان را تمیز می کنند. دارند, the auxiliary verb in the spoken language is دارن. And تمیز می کنند. Sorry, let's go back to اتاقشان. اتاقشان, شان in the spoken language is شون, را is رو, and می کنند, می کنن. So this sentence is a little bit more informal. بچه ها دارن اتاقشون رو تمیز می کنن. زمان آینده. Alright, we covered this one. Now let's go over the future tense, زمان آینده, which we use an auxiliary verb to form future tense. But this form of future tense is mostly used in the formal language, meaning like the news, formal presentations, the written language. Usually we do not use it in like the everyday spoken language. So if you're planning to read Farsi, like materials in Farsi, then this tense is very important for you guys to learn. Forming future tense, we have two verbs here. Let's start with the first one, نوشتن. It means to write. So we need the auxiliary verb خواه, and we need to conjugate that. And what is خواه? خواه is the present stem of the verb خواستن. But here it is only used as an auxiliary verb, as a helping verb. And this u here is silent. Imagine this aleph here is attached to kh, so خواه. We need to conjugate it. So whatever the subject is, let's say the subject is man, this is the conjugation. So we need mim here. And then we need the past stem of the verb. This is the verb, نوشتن. How do we form past stem? Past stem is the infinitive form without nun. So we here remove nun from the infinitive. So it's going to leave us with نوشت. You might be wondering, why do we need to use past stem here? Aren't we talking about the future tense? Yes, that's correct, but that's just part of the formula and we just need to memorize it. So now let's combine everything. خواهم نوشت. I will write, which is the future tense, and it is mostly used in the formal language. All right, let's go over to the next verb. The next verb is a compound verb, کار کردن, which means to work. So again, we need خواه, and then we need to conjugate خواه. خواه, let's say the subject is شما. This is the conjugation. خواهید plus, again, the past stem. This is the verbal part. We remove nun from it. It's going to leave us with کرد. Let's combine them. کار خواهید کرد. Remember, the auxiliary verb needs to come between the non-verbal part and the verbal part. We do not say خواهید کار کرد. It's wrong. کار خواهید کرد. Because always, whatever modifier we have, it needs to be closer to the verb. We are modifying the verbal part here, not the non-verbal part. And now let's go over the negative form of the future tense. So for the negative form, we attach the letter na to the auxiliary verb kha here. So kha for the negative needs to change to nakha. So here khaham is going to be replaced with nakhaham. So nakhaham نوشت, it means I will not write. And the same for the second one. So kha here needs to be replaced with nakha. So kar khahid kard. Khahid will be replaced to nakhahid. So kar nakhahid kard, it means you will not work. Let's fully conjugate these two verbs now. So نوشتن, and here are the personal pronouns. I'm just going to read through the verbs. خواهم نوشت, خواهی نوشت, خواهد نوشت, نخواهیم نوشت, نخواهید نوشت, نخواهند نوشت. For this one on the left side, کار خواهم کرد, کار خواهی کرد, کار خواهد کرد, کار نخواهیم کرد, کار نخواهید کرد, کار نخواهند کرد. Let's get some practice here. I will finish this project tomorrow. So to finish is تمام کردن. من فردا این پروژه را تمام خواهم کرد. So here the verb is تمام خواهم کرد, which is in future form. And the auxiliary verb خواهم needs to come between the non-verbal part and the verbal part. And this is the past tense. He will not invite me to the party. To invite is دعوت کردن. او من را به مهمانی دعوت نخواهد کرد. So دعوت کردن is a prepositional verb, is کسی را, man here is کسی, به جایی. So in Farsi is the same as English. We also invite someone to somewhere. So او من را به مهمانی دعوت نخواهد کرد. And then na for negative needs to be attached to the auxiliary verb. Next, we will rest on the weekend. To rest is استراحت کردن. So all these three verbs are compound verbs. I used compound verbs because simple verbs are easy. Compound verbs, students usually need more practice with those. ما در آخر هفته استراحت خواهیم کرد. در is in a bracket because it's optional. We can also say ما آخر هفته استراحت خواهیم کرد. Review of the present and future tense. So here is a summary of what we reviewed in this lesson. They are all in a table form. And again, in Farsi, we only have 3 tenses for all the present and future tenses. And I think it's pretty clear. The verb is ساختن, the present tense is ساز, and you just put them into the formula here. I'm just going to read through them in case you need help with the pronunciation. So the first one, میسازم, میسازی, میسازد, informal, میسازه, میسازیم, میسازید, informal, میسازین, and then میسازند, informal, میسازن. Next one, دارم میسازم, داری میسازی, دارد میسازد, informal, داره میسازه, داریم میسازیم, دارید میسازید, informal, دارین میسازین, دارند میسازند, informal, دارند میسازند. For future tense, خواهم ساخت, خواهی ساخت, خواهد ساخت, خواهیم ساخت, خواهید ساخت, خواهند ساخت. Now let's go over a compound verb, ورزش کردن. کن is a present stem. Let's start with present tense. ورزش می کنم, ورزش می کنی, ورزش می کند, informal, ورزش می کنه, ورزش می کنیم, ورزش می کنید, informal, ورزش می کنین, ورزش می کنند, informal, ورزش می کنن. And then for the negative, میکنم changes to نمیکنم. I didn't add the negative in the table because then the table would have looked very messy. All right, next one, present continuous tense. دارم ورزش میکنم. داری ورزش میکنی. دارد ورزش میکند. Informal داره ورزش میکنه. داریم ورزش میکنیم. دارید ورزش میکنید. Informal دارین ورزش میکنین. دارند ورزش میکنند. Informal دارن ورزش میکنند. Remember, auxiliary verb دار needs to come after the subject. Future tense ورزش خواهم کرد. ورزش خواهی کرد. ورزش خواهد کرد. ورزش خواهیم کرد. ورزش خواهید کرد. ورزش خواهند کرد. And for the negative, خواه changes to نخواه. So ورزش نخواهم کرد would be the negative, and the same for all the other ones. Now you can see them also in a sentence form. So for example here, من یک قایق می سازم. Here is the translation. من دارم یک قایق می سازم, which we said دارم is optional. And then فردا من یک قایق خواهم ساخت. Let's also take a look at the compound verb. من ورزش می کنم. من دارم ورزش می کنم. من ورزش خواهم کرد. Now let's go over the three forms, the positive, the negative, and the question forms of these three tenses. So I'm just going to read through this. تو کار میکنی. Negative, تو کار نمیکنی. Question form, آیا تو کار میکنی? Again, remember, آیا is in a bracket here because it is optional. We don't need to have آیا. But what's important is to have the question intonation. So, تو کار میکنی versus تو کار میکنی. Let's go over to حال استمراری. تو داری کار میکنی. تو کار نمیکنی. آیا تو داری کار میکنی؟ Let's go over آینده. تو کار خواهی کرد. تو کار نخواهی کرد. آیا تو کار خواهی کرد؟ Now we are going to go over the present and future tenses in Persian versus their English equivalents. If you don't like grammar and if you are not familiar with the English tenses, so it's better that you skip the following part. But if you know very well the English tenses, if you're an English speaker and you know the tenses very well and you love grammar like me, then I think this part will be helpful for you. Now let's do a comparison between the present tenses and future tenses in English versus Farsi. So as you can see here, for present tenses in English, there's like 4 different tenses, and the same for future tenses. But in Farsi, there's only 3 tenses, which we have learned in this lesson. So you see, Farsi is not that hard, especially the tenses. The tenses are easier than English because many of them overlap. So here, but you might be wondering, what if you want to like say a sentence in English that has, for example, future perfect continuous, then what tense do you use in Farsi? So we are going to take a look at that in the next slide. All right, let's take a quick look at this table. In color blue, we have all the English tenses, and then in color red are all their Persian equivalents. On the left side, the present tenses. On the right side of the table, the future tenses. Let's start with the first one. Present simple in English is just the same as in Farsi too. Present simple. Every day I study Persian. من هر روز فارسی میخوانم. Present continuous in English. The Persian equivalent is the same. Present continuous. من الان دارم فارسی میخوانم. Next one, present perfect in English. In Farsi, it's also present perfect, but here there's a trick you need to know. In Farsi, the tense present perfect is called ماضی نقلی, And mazi, the tense mazi means past. So basically this tense in Farsi is considered as a past tense. And so far, if you're learning Farsi with me, we have not covered present perfect yet or mazi naqli yet. We will cover that later. So that's why it wasn't covered in this lesson, because again, this mazi naqli, present perfect in Farsi, is considered as a past tense. All right, so I have studied Persian before. من قبلا فارسی خواندم. Next, present perfect continuous. The Persian equivalent is just present continuous. For example, I have been studying Persian since last month. از ماه پیش دارم فارسی میخوانم. All right, let's go over to the right side of the table. Future simple is just future simple in Farsi too. I will study Persian. من فارسی خواهم خواند. Or من فارسی میخوانم. Future continuous in Farsi is present continuous. Tomorrow morning I will be studying Persian. فردا صبح من دارم فارسی میخوانم. Future perfect in Persian would be just present tense that is used for future. So I will have studied Persian by tonight. We just say من تا امشب فارسی میخوانم. And future perfect continuous, we just use present tense. For example, by next month, I will have been studying Persian for a year. So the sentence in Persian is a little bit different. We say it a little bit differently, but the tense is just present tense. ماه آینده که بیاد برای 1 سال است که فارسی میخوانم. But please, there's something very important here you need to know. And the Persian equivalent tense might change based on the time expression, the context, and other elements. So this is just a very general guideline or reference that you can use. It very much depends on other elements as well. So that's it for this lesson. Thank you everyone for watching. I would love to see some of your sentences. So if you could write in the comment section a few sentences in Farsi. If you do not have the Persian alphabet, it's okay. You can just use the English alphabet. I can actually get some ideas by seeing your sentences and use them in my next upcoming lessons. All right, please let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. And then other than that, I will see you guys in the next lesson. فعلا خدا حافظ.